Hey guys, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist. In this case, video about growing old and preparing for that. It is a topic that I've looked in YouTube, haven't found a single good video on it, good or bad. I just haven't found any videos on it on YouTube, at least, none. Maybe there is one, I just didn't come across it. And even looking in Google articles on the topic, not much either there. And it is surprising because the basics of survival and preparedness tells us that you should be preparing for things that are, first of all, likely to happen, second, have a major impact in your life. And growing old is something that's going to be happening to every single one of us. Dude, I don't care who you are, where you live, what your situation is, you are going to be growing old. If you're lucky enough, you will be old one day. Alright, and it is going to be having a major impact in your life. So watch this video. I don't care how young you are either, it's going to be happening too. Even if you're 15 years old, there's things that you have to do ahead of time, and not only once you're in a more advanced stage of life. First of all, as always, it's a matter of mindset and attitude. It's been covered in previous videos. The one key, most important thing for survival is mindset. Here it's the same old thing. It is mindset and attitude. The way you view life, if you are mentally active, if you convince yourself of being capable of doing things. There's people that are old by the age of 50, 60. There's people that are still young by the time they're 80 or 90 years old. I know such people in both cases. Some guys, some people convince themselves that they're just too old to do stuff. Some people convince themselves that they're still quite capable of doing lots and lots of things. And that is key. Attitude here as well is a key factor. Maybe having a routine is important for a more advanced stage of life, but as long as you can breaking your routine every once in a while is also good mental exercise as well. Keeps you active, looking for different ways of solving things and thinking of things in a different way. So whenever you can, if you still can do that, try improvising and doing unexpected and trying new things as much as you can. Pretty important. Second point, and this is something that here I dare get my crystal ball out and try guess the future a little bit. I'm seeing a possible problem in the coming years, 20-30 years from now, when the income planned by some people for their retirement, for their pensions, is not going to be enough. There's going to be a problem in terms of how much money people think they're going to be needing to live on when they retire, when they're older. And realistically speaking, it is because of inflation, it is not going to be enough. And then inflation numbers will be tampered with a little bit here and there so as to keep them as low as possible. Every little trick in the book so as to keep inflation, at least in paper, keep it as low as possible, will be used. But the supermarket index, which is how much you actually fill up your shopping cart when you go out there and spend money, is going to be unavoidable. I think that you have to think of at least a 20% extra from whatever it is you're planning, a 20% margin in case that ends up happening, which I'm pretty sure something like that will be a problem in the future. Number 3, and yes, as you grow older, there's going to be more physical challenges. You will not be as strong or as fast as you once were, and that requires certain changes. Maybe being a little bit more careful. Here it is important to keep as active as possible before, all right? Not just try to go to the gym when you're in your 70s, but have a good cardio resistance, have a good muscle build. Nothing too extreme. Again, this isn't about being a complete fanatic, but at least having a proper physical conditioning so as to be better, feeling better, and being capable of doing stuff as you grow older. It's things that focus and concentrate on your flexibility as well, so as to stay flexible and not become all hard and having reduced mobility. Pretty important. I think it was Dr. Life. He wrote a book. This guy, he's like 80 years old and outstanding physical shape. Yes, he does a lot of other stuff as well with hormones and such, but his regime is basically working on cardio like every single day. He does also Pilates 3 times a day and a little bit of weight lifting so as to stay stay fit. And I think he did taekwondo 2 times a week as well. So, you know, the kind of thing that you definitely want to look into. Not being obsessed with it, but at least having a basic amount of physical fitness. Pretty important. It's also going to be affecting the kind of work you're going to be doing. And here we may want to go back a little bit to point number 2 in terms of finances and money. You may have to consider keeping working in spite of retiring, at least part-time, maybe a few hours a week. And for this, it's going to be important to understand point 3, the issue of your physical limitations when you're growing old. So you may want to consider leaning towards more of the theoretical aspect and intellectual aspect of whatever line of work you have. Maybe you're not going to be able to do manual labor as much, or hard work, of course, or even just travel a lot. So you may want to focus more on the intellectual and theoretical aspect of whatever line of work you have, and that's going to be allowing you to keep doing a little bit of work every once in a while, maybe part-time, maybe a few hours, but it's going to be also it's going to be helping in keeping you active, which is addressing point number 1. It's also going to be helping you in terms of supplementing the income that, as we talked about in point number 2, may not be enough given inflation. So yes, unfortunately we have to think of it that way. We have to think of it of maybe not completely retiring ever, maybe keeping working, and it's not really that bad if it's done within our means. It's not that big a deal. Also, in terms of being physically more challenged, you have to think of it in terms of how are you going to be able to evacuate yourself from trouble. If you're able to walk distances, maybe you're not going to be able to walk longer distances to put yourself to safety if you ever have to leave, evacuate wherever it is that you're living. Also, in terms of defense, as you grow older, unfortunately, we have social predators that will prey upon that. They're looking specifically for that. So it's something that, again, requires your attention. A good friend of mine, Rick, who, wish luck, Rick, wherever you are, if you're watching this, he has dog Argentino and Pitbull mix dog. I remember him telling me once that whenever he was walking the dog, he heard people and saw people look at his dog and being kind of scared of the dog. A dog that imposes a little bit more of respect. And he was saying, since he's a little bit slower than he used to be, but the dog kind of compensates for that. I think it's brilliant. I think it's very smart. As you grow older, having a dog that you're still taking him out for walks, you're walking yourself, you're getting involved doing something, and as well, it's something that works towards improving your security, your personal security as well. Having a dog for walking keeps you safe, and maybe keeps you safe at home as well. Point number 4, location, exactly where it is that you are. And what you're looking at here is maybe you are in a farm, maybe you're in a homestead. I actually addressed this in an email from a couple that sent me an email recently wondering about this. As you grow older, maybe you're not able to do farm work or homestead work as much as you did before, and it requires some considerations. Maybe you have to move back closer to town. I mean, having to travel more back and forth to a hospital. As you grow older, maybe you have a medical condition that requires frequent travels to a hospital, and yes, unfortunately, maybe you one day have to rush to the hospital, to the ER room, and the further away you are from hospitals, the lesser the chances are of survival. Even if it's not that drastic, that dramatic, as you grow older, maybe some illness, some condition that you have requires of you to just have more frequent checks, and traveling back and forth greater distance is a bit of a hassle. So that's something you may want to be keeping in mind in general. And this, guys, goes back to this of planning ahead of time. I myself do not like being more than 15 minutes away from proper medical care. In case I have to rush with one of my kids, if there's someone hurt in my family, one of us, even myself, the more distance you are, every minute that goes by without having medical care after a stroke, a heart attack, or some major major accidents. Every minute that goes by reduces your chances of survival. So even though you don't have to go nuts about this, worrying about this all day, proper planning and understanding of this, you just live a little bit closer, keeping this in mind as something that may be happening in the future. And as we see now, as you grow older, it is going to be happening, unavoidably so. Point number 5, last one, relationships with your family, friends, loved ones. I think it was over half the people above age 70, if I remember correctly what I read in an article, half the people above age 70 live on their own and don't have someone calling or checking on them on a frequent basis. This is not a good position to be in, of course. The last thing you want to be when you're in that stage of life is being on your own. And here maybe you have to reconsider and think of why it may end up happening that way. You have to cultivate your relationships. You have to work so as to keep your relationships going. Again, something that I did mention in previous videos. And guys, again, this is something you have to do before you end up in this position. All right, once you're 70 and no one's calling on you and caring about you, that's kind of a little bit too late. It's never too late, but it is harder than if you start doing things properly ahead of time. You're 15 years old. Think of it this way. How you are with your kids, how you are with your family, your friends, your loved ones. If your kids don't check on you, there's probably something that went wrong along the lines. Have as much of a close relationship as possible. It takes time, it takes effort. Sometimes you just feel as doing something else, but it is something that if you invest on it, it's going to be making your life better in general. And when this day eventually comes, when one day you're a little bit older and you need a little bit more help than before, you will be grateful for all these things that you once did. So folks, just more food for thought as always. I hope you enjoy these videos. Remember to subscribe because there's going to be more stuff coming up that you definitely don't want to miss. Take care, have a great day, see you in our next video.